Welcome to Postcards, a brief look at people, places, the arts and curiosities from around the world. On today's program, 1,000 artists to produce 1,000 works over the next year, remembering one of the darkest periods in global history. Hanover in Germany transformed to host Expo 2000. How tourism can help save the last great European carnivores. And finally, the unmissable event of the horticultural calendar, the Chelsea Flower Show. First up, art experts believe this is how British Victorian artist John William Waterhouse would have liked his depiction of the patron saint of music to have been viewed. A composition of tranquility and peace, Saint Cecilia, painted in 1853 at the pinnacle of his career, was executed as a showpiece to impress the Royal Academy, to which Waterhouse was being admitted as a full member. The poppies, inferring a reference to opiate qualities, are a symbol of sleep. Indeed, experts believe looking at beautiful artwork is a form of meditation, especially when accompanied by evocative music. Set in an Italian landscape, Saint Cecilia is strewn with flowers and bathed in the warm colours of twilight. Waterhouse's distinctive use of light and colour set him aside from his contemporaries. When it's offered for auction, the painting is expected to exceed all previous records, and based on the current interest in good Victorian paintings, is valued between $4 and $5.6 million US. Christie's expects the painting to spark vigorous bidding by the big international institutions. Interest has been expressed by American and European museums, along with private collectors from around the world. Saint Cecilia forms the centrepiece of Christie's evening sale of important British art. It's part of a month of sales celebrating British artworks spanning the 16th to the 20th centuries. The launch of Year of the Artist, Britain's largest and most ambitious arts project. With a budget of more than $7.5 million US, 1,000 artists will produce work in at least 1,000 unusual and surprising places throughout Britain during the year. Artists and projects like these. Pauline Aitken, who will set up a printmaking and sculpture studio in an engineering firm. Radical poet Attila the Stockbroker is Football Club Brighton and Hove Albion's poet-in-residence. And willow artist Serena de la Haye will produce a willow sculpture near the M5 in Somerset. One of the most unusual projects is being undertaken by tuba player John Hodkin. He'll cycle 1,000 miles across the East Midland, towing his tuba for his inner tuba residency. His aim is to do 50 miles a day over 20 days, making up the 1,000 miles. He'll give 3 performances each day. Jeanette Brooks is with Dance Movement, who'll visit communities in Buckinghamshire. Visual artists, dancers, filmmakers and writers will all be taking part in Year of the Artist, which began at venues all over the country on June 1. Britain's Foreign Secretary Robin Cook arrives at London's Imperial War Museum for a reminder of one of the darkest periods in global history. Mr. Cook met survivors of the Holocaust and saw the huge model of perhaps the most notorious extermination camp at Auschwitz in Poland. Faced with this graphic evidence of the combination of racist ideology and scientific efficiency, the Foreign Secretary found the smallest exhibits the most moving. museum's permanent Holocaust exhibition is the largest of its kind in Europe. It chronicles the Nazis' systematic program to exterminate the Jews of Europe, and also the huge German slave labour program and the mass killing of gypsies, Slavs and those deemed physically or mentally inferior. The exhibition has been 4 years in the planning and development, and it's not always been an easy process, despite the cooperation of contributors and financial backers. Survivor Roman Holter said this place is also a beacon of honesty and decency and historical truth. There are few who are actually there who are still around to remember the highly functional layout of the infamous Auschwitz concentration camp. Most were victims of its terrible trade in death. As with the other exhibits though, survivors of the Holocaust see it as a vital contribution to global history and the lessons for humankind. With Rwanda, Bosnia and Kosovo serving as reminders that race hatred lives on 50 years after the Holocaust, Mr. Cook said he found the exhibition a powerful spur to work for the elimination of fascism. He said the exhibition will be a permanent reminder, long after the survivors have died, of the depths to which humankind can sink. A poignant, some might find terrifying lesson in the importance of international democracy and human rights. But the Imperial War Museum is confident that its permanent exhibition will become one of the world's key points of reference for students and for passing visitors of one of modern history's most cruel of eras. Hanover in Germany. On the outskirts of the city, an area the size of Monaco has been transformed into Expo 2000, the first world exhibition of the new century. 180 countries are represented here. Each pavilion is a national showcase, and each interpreting this year's theme of humankind, nature and technology, and the need for a blend of all three to build a sustainable future. Expo's German hosts hope that their global village will show that a new world is emerging, based on the need for more intelligent management of the Earth's resources. With the 20th century motto of higher, faster, further now well out of date, vehicles like this water bus show how new technology can offer solutions to tomorrow's global problems. Convincing evidence, say Expo's organisers, that there is hope for a better future. In keeping with this overall theme, Britain's pavilion in the Expo's European Boulevard offers a glimpse of how British design's innovations are meeting the challenge of sustainable development. Visitors here are confronted with 4 separate displays of life in Britain. Its futuristic design was revealed by the team responsible for the UK's participation in Expo 2000. The aim of world exhibitions like this one is to promote a positive image overseas. One environmental success story, clearly illustrated here, is the transformation of the River Thames from a dead river into a habitat supporting more than 100 species of fish. And each country's chances of attracting the crowds are boosted on its designated National Day, when VIP visitors like the Earl and Countess of Wessex are received by their German hosts. Each National Day too provides an opportunity to stage a celebration of national traditions. On this occasion, the band of the Royal Lancers offered a suitably formal rendition of both national anthems. A photo call in front of a replica of the front door of number 10 Downing Street, and then the royal couple embarked on a tour of the UK display. The underlying theme here is diversity and the part it must play in creating a sustainable future. The images here demonstrate the wide-ranging nature of British culture, revealing just how fashion, theatre, design and sport have changed over the decades. Britain is depicted as a nation of eccentrics and innovators. But although a world fair like Hanover's aims to inform, educate and entertain the public, it's also a forum for the best a nation has to offer in the areas of science, technology, arts and the social sciences. It's an opportunity for each nation to boast about its achievements and reap the subsequent benefits in terms of increased trade. And when it comes to controversial subjects like human genetics and GM foods, Expo also affords an opportunity for discussion and debate as nations around the world look for common strategies on the challenges ahead. A chance too for scientists and academics to address public fears about new technology and broaden public understanding of the issues involved. Local solutions to global problems are on offer in the UK's Land of Diversity section, where a huge photo montage gives a visual overview of the nation's landscape. It celebrates the country's natural resources, demonstrating how rural and urban landscapes can be conserved when individuals, business and government work together. The World of Diversity section looks at how the UK is helping to improve understanding of the human impact on the global environment. Information is provided on projects like the Millennium Seed Bank at Britain's Royal Botanic Gardens, where scientists are building up the world's most comprehensive encyclopedia of plant varieties. Outside, an unusual garden carries on the conservation theme. The garden, designed using only recycled materials and indigenous plants from Britain, is the brainchild of 9-year-old Janesta Smith. Her use of glass bottles to border the garden path and old car tyres to create plant pots helped Janesta win a competition organised by a British children's television programme, Blue Peter. More inspiration is on offer in the Home of Diversity section. A model of a UK social housing project shows how innovative constructions and intelligent control systems can produce cheaper housing that has less impact on the environment. The main feature here, though, is a wall of photographs showing the cultural diversity of ordinary people in Britain. The message is that British innovations are improving the quality of life of individuals of all creeds and colours in their homes and in their daily lives. The spirit of diversity is a celebration of how different cultures in Britain have produced worldwide success stories. The innovative Dyson vacuum cleaner deserves a mention here, alongside Philip Tracy's hats, the Globe Theatre on the banks of the River Thames, and cartoon creations Wallace and Gromit. All in all, the organisers hope they have created an exhibition appealing to people from all walks of life. The large majority of visitors, about 60%, will be German, but there'll also be a very strong commercial and political audience, with VIPs visiting from all over the world. 2 years ago, the Lisbon Expo generated more than $54 million US worth of business for the UK. With hundreds of thousands of people expected to visit Expo 2000 over the next 4 months, it's hoped that Hanover will prove to be a similar springboard for success. China, the world's biggest coal producer, is trying to limit the damaging effects of mining on the environment. At this Chinese mine, methane gas, one of the greenhouse gases blamed for global warming, is being clearly burned off. In the West African state of Mali, farmers are planting the sand dunes with fast-growing bushes to stop the Sahara overwhelming the historic city of Timbuktu. Just two examples of locally inspired action to safeguard the natural world for future generations. To mark UN World Environment Day, these children from inner-city London are learning about the natural riches of the tropical rainforest on a visit to Kew Gardens to the west of London. It's the world's greatest botanical treasure house and research centre. Outside, the children could look round a field of wheat full of the wildflowers that once filled the English countryside. Farming and land development have made them an unfamiliar sight, especially to these city-bred children. Botanist and broadcaster David Bellamy remembers visiting the Kew Gardens when he was 4, picking a bunch of wildflowers for his mother. He hopes in the not-too-distant future, every child will be able to do the same. If not a bunch, at least each child got to take away a pressed version of one of those once common but now threatened British wildflowers. But they also took home with them a variety of impressions of Kew Gardens and why plants and trees are so important. 6 years ago, a time capsule was buried at Kew containing letters of apology for the damage our generation has wrought on the natural world. Family planning expert John Gilbord hopes this apology will be unnecessary when the capsule is opened by the next generation but one. The latest addition to the rich collection at Kew, a cutting from a 2,000-year-old yew tree, is planted to mark the first International Environment Day of the new millennium, and in the hope that humans in 2,000 years' time will be able to enjoy the still rich and diverse natural world. A new report entitled Tourism and Carnivores, the Challenge Ahead from the Worldwide Fund for Nature highlights the crucial role the European tourism industry can play in helping to save the continent's last great carnivores, animals like wolves, brown bears and the lynx. Romania is a country where responsible carnivore tourism seems to work. Here in the Carpathian Mountains in Transylvania, a thriving tourist industry has grown up based on the wolves, bears and lynx which live here. It's revitalised the local economy and is the last place in Europe where people and large predators now peacefully coexist. For local hotelier Eleanor Popper and her family, this sort of tourism has changed their lives. Conservation is now paramount in the region, and the WWF hopes that Romania's example will be followed by other countries in Europe. It's electric fences instead of guns. Justin Wolford of the WWF sees that responsible tourism can change people's attitudes towards carnivores. If they're promoted as a tourist attraction, they can be seen as a positive asset for landscape and therefore be accepted by people rather than being rejected as a pest. The fund hopes the Romanian model will be adopted as a blueprint for action throughout Europe to protect the continent's last remaining carnivores. The Chelsea Flower Show, set in the grounds of the Royal Hospital in London's fashionable borough of Chelsea, is the unmissable event of the horticultural calendar. A new marquee replaces the traditional tent to house the usual elaborate displays, with its overpowering range of colours and blend of smells. Rubbing up against local roses and tulips are tropical displays like this marine-inspired concoction from Malaysia. Visitor numbers to this 3-day melting pot of garden ideas are limited to 160,000. Water flows, drips and cascades through many of the displays this year. The combination of water and some original outdoor artwork transforms some of the plots into miniature sculpture gardens. This mixture of high-tech and natural gives this year's Chelsea Flower Show rather a millennial feel. And as a reminder that the information superhighway would be a grim place without some green verges, the organisers have put the show on the internet. A new site caters to the millions who surf the web in search of horticultural inspiration. The traditional Chelsea pastime of Spot the Celebrity was much in evidence on the opening day, although the show aims to open up gardening to everyone. but it helps. Here's an idea for a front garden, perhaps for someone with an astrological frame of mind. And for the back garden, conservatories come in all shapes and sizes. But for people without large gardens, a new area at the Chelsea Flower Show this year illustrates that limited space need be no barrier to inventive design. There's something here for every outdoor taste and whim. London is home to some of the grandest architecture in the world. Victorian buildings grace the squares of the capital and provide elegant homes for the rich and famous. But not every fashionable facade is quite what it seems. This house is an exquisite recreation of the real thing, painstakingly built in miniature by model maker Ben Ruthven Taggart. Ben makes every tiny detail of the 18-inch high models at a workshop at his home in central London. The architectural detail is made using resin-filled rubber moulds. The columns and porticos are also made from resin, and then the whole model is painted with fade-proof acrylic paints. Ben works on a commission-only basis, and his houses usually take around 6 to 8 weeks to complete. Most clients don't have architectural plans available, so Ben has to take photographs and make his own detailed drawings. Ben has made models of a variety of buildings, from commercial premises to Venetian palaces. His most prestigious commission was a model of Highgrove House, the home of Prince Charles. The Museum of Fulham Palace, one of London's finest buildings. It was once the home of the Bishop of London, and it too has been recreated in all its splendour. The model is housed in the museum and enables visitors to see how the palace, a mixture of architectural styles, has changed over the centuries. Nothing escapes the eagle eye of this master builder, even down to the last dustbin. And that's all for today. Join us again next time for a postcard look at interesting people, places, the arts and curiosities.